we've put everyone on mute. And we will have we'll have time later. We've got time later for everyone to, those of you who have questions, you'll be able to ask questions. But for now, we've put everyone on mute. If you're also able to see this, but not able to hear, you could call in. There's a phone number here, 647-558-0588. We are at the same time also, we have 4 different translation lines occurring at the same time. We have it in 4 different languages, and those are live now. I'm gonna actually just hang here for a second for those of you who might like to join these translation lines. I also wanted to remind everyone that this this town hall tonight is being recorded, and you will be able to watch it again if you're not able to join us for the whole 2 hours. We will be able to share this online, and there will be some packages that will be mailed out to you as well, so you can be you can receive all the information we'll go through tonight. I'm going to go back to the first few slides. Again, if you're joining us just now, thanks for joining. This is really great, and I can't wait to see all of you soon. If you're having trouble with technology, please give Anisha a call. She is helping us in the background with any technology issues. And if you're able to just rejoin, perhaps exit and then rejoin, sometimes that solves the audio issue. Or you can also call us by your telephone while you're watching the slides here. Again, for those of you who are joining and require translation during the town hall, we are running 4 different translations. And I'll just hang here for a second for those of you who might need the numbers here. And just a reminder that this town hall will be, it is being recorded as we speak, and it will be available on the Regent Park Focus YouTube channel. And there are many other great videos there, so I would ask you to just go and check it out. So we are about 5 minutes in. I think a couple of our neighbors will join in a moment, but because we have an amazing lineup of speakers, we have lots of speakers tonight, I'm gonna get started. So I wanted to welcome you all again. And for those of you who don't know me, my name is Nayeon, and I live here in Regent Park. And I am here also as a co-chair of the Safety Network, Regent Park Safety Network, which is a group of residents who meet monthly to discuss safety issues and come up with ideas to improve our neighborhood. It is actually part of a larger group that is a group of residents as well as community partners who meet to discuss how we could make improvements and really transform our community through a resident lens and through a resident voice. I think it's not a question that this pandemic, COVID, has brought a really big challenge to a lot of us through work, personally. So I wanted to recognize that this is a difficult time for a lot of us. Not being able to work perhaps, and not being able to see your friends and your extended family. It is a really difficult time, and a lot of us, some of us are also having a challenge with technology, which has become the only way for us to connect. So I wanted to really recognize that and acknowledge this is a challenging time for a lot of us. I know personally, with this pandemic, I'm going through a roller coaster of emotions. Sometimes I feel great, and sometimes I feel okay, and other days I feel a little bit scared and uncertain about what's about to come. But I think many of you would agree that this pandemic has also brought us closer, brought out the best in us. And I've seen neighbors delivering meals, some of which we will hear later. Some of us, I've seen neighbors delivering masks and being being able to share kindness. I thought that's amazing, and I think that's so unique to Regent Park. Tonight, our town hall is a time for us, the residents and neighbors living here in Regent Park. It's our space. So let's spend the next 2 hours together and hear about what's happening in our community in response to the pandemic and what supports are available. And we'll have we'll have time for questions later on as well. So let's begin. As we begin, I'm going to ask Andrea from Council Fire to start us with Thanksgiving address and giving thanks for this time and space.
Oh, I just extend my greetings and acknowledgements to everyone, and thank you for putting in the language we call it gana halus dusla, and what it is giving thanks, and these are the words that we always acknowledge before we say anything else. We always want to begin by saying these words to acknowledge each of the days that we have before us, our ceremonies, anytime that we're having important meetings like this. And it's an expression. It's an expression of acknowledgement, greetings, our love and appreciation for all of creation of who we are part of. And as you say, it's been a great time to bring our thoughts together as one people. If you do look at the Thanksgiving address, it includes all of the same. I'm just trying to get rid of the things on my. And so I won't. You'll have the package in front of you, but this is a short version to identify exactly what we give thanks for. And on the top, first of all is our Creator, and in the language we say Sugoyan Dezo. And from that Creator, and it makes up all of us and all of our relatives who are here before us. We talk first about we greet and we give thanks to all of creation and for the responsibilities that each of these elements continue to carry out. And then we greet and we give thanks to and for all of the people. You know, again for that each we ask that they carry peace within. And so that we all work together of a good mind and one mind. We give thanks to and for our first mother, Mother Earth, our sustainer of all life. We give thanks to and for the waters that flow throughout our mother, and to the water beings for their work, their hard work that they've been given to filter and purify the water, so we may have quenching in our own systems. We give thanks and to and for the plant life that grow on our mother. When we give special thanks to all of those plant life that provide us with so much, whether it's the fire, which is shade, what is the medicines. And I prefer if you leave the picture up itself because they can read this after. We give thanks to and for, we say the winged ones, and those for who fly above us and give us those beautiful songs each day. And that spread this, the seeds of life. We give thanks to and for the thunder beings, because they're also a relative that come from the west to bring that warm winds, the rain, again to replenish our mother and give that sustenance to each of us too as well. We give thanks to and for our eldest brother, son, for the enlightenment that he gives to us each morning and the warmth that he provides, not to our mother, but to each of us again too as well. We give thanks to and for our grandmother, Moon. She's the leader of women and who regulates the female forces within the universe, including the movement of the ocean tides. And she also changes, and by her changing face, we measure time and that the arrival of our young ones who are coming, young babies. We give thanks to and for our ancestors, the stars who record our history and also give us that guidance in carrying out the cycles of our ceremonies. We give thanks and acknowledgement for the 4 guardians who continue to carry out their guidance and direction. We give thanks and acknowledgement to Sugoyan Dizo, the creator, for all these things. And now that we've arrived at a place where we come to end these words, of all the things that we have named, it is not our intention to leave anything out. And that we ask that if there has been something that's been forgotten, we ask that individuals to send their greetings and their thanks in their own way. And now I've come to end this, and we say Donato to say that our minds are of one. So Yamanko.
Thank you, Andrea, for centering us. This is really amazing. And the words here will also be shared with you, everyone, afterwards. This is really just so really beautiful. So I wanted to start us with a quick overview of our agenda tonight. We have a lot of great guest speakers here tonight with us. We have Councillor Wong-Tam. We also have some friends from our city of Toronto, MPP Suze Morrison, as well as representatives from TCH, Daniels Corporation, TDSB, our youth workers, Toronto Police Service, Skylark Youth, Toronto Council Fire Native Cultural Center, and we also have a very special guest speaker at the end. And towards the end of our meeting, we'll be going through how you can get involved. So we also have great, really strong resident speakers who will be speaking about some of the amazing initiatives that have been going on in our community. And just a few housekeeping items here. The purpose of tonight's town hall is really to talk about services and supports that are available in Regent Park. So I would like to ask all the speakers to please focus your updates on what's happening on the ground in Regent Park for our neighbors here. As well, we did a pre-town hall survey to find out what's top of mind for our residents, which have been shared with our speakers, and you will hear those just in a bit. Speakers, when I ask you to share your updates, please remember to unmute your mic. This is going to be an interesting challenge. I've already embraced that this might be a little bit of an awkward process, but we will all get through it together. And because we have a lot of speakers today, all the guest speakers that will be speaking shortly, please keep your remarks to about 4 minutes. And for our attendees, there is a Q&A box here on Zoom. I see that there's been a question from Miguel already. So please use the Q&A box for you to ask questions as you're listening to the updates. We will get those during the Q&A time. There will be time for live Q&A as well. Speakers, if you're able to respond to the written questions, please do. And those that are on the translation lines, you can also feed in those questions into the written Q&A box. For those of you who are joining us on the line, raising your hand you can press *9 to raise your hand when we get to the live question, and you're welcome to ask your questions then. And again, just a reminder, this is being recorded and will be available on the Regent Park Focus YouTube channel.
Hello.
Hi there.
Hi, I'm Yasmin. I'm a Bengali translator. So if I need to speak, I will speak or I will translate the document in Bengali.
Yeah, great question, Yasmin. So we are going to, you can use the Q&A box for questions that are coming through your translation line, or you can keep it until the Q&A, live Q&A time, which will begin around 6 o'clock.
So I will speak or I will translate. I will write down or in Bengali or I will speak in Bengali.
You can ask in English, and then the translation line is where you can translate into your
I was given. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Great question. These are the things that we'll get through. This is the first time we're doing it on online, as you can see. We will learn together, and please be patient with us, as this is the first time we're doing it online. Just a few reminders as we are gathered here together. Just a few reminders to just be kind and empathetic to everyone's stories, listening with an open mind, and this is a space for all of us as residents, as neighbors. So please take the space, make the space, and respect the space. And for any questions that you have very specific to your need, you're welcome to email us as well, so that we can focus on questions that might be relevant to most of us tonight. This is just a quick overview of some of the services and programs that have been coming through 3 levels of the government. I won't spend too much time here. I think we are aware of many of these programs that are going on, and these are some contact information. Again, this slide deck will be shared afterwards, and you're welcome to touch base with our government representatives. So with that, I would like to ask Councillor Kristyn Wong-Tam to come up. You are the first speaker we have, so great to have you. So as I mentioned, there was a pre-town hall survey, and these are some of the questions that came up. Councillor Wong-Tam, if you would like to tell us a little bit about how the city is supporting our neighbors here in Regent, and what physical distancing can be ensured. I think there was a question in the Q&A related to this, and how you're confronting and addressing racism that's coming out of because of COVID.
Nayeon, thank you very much. I hope that everyone can hear me. Can you all hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
So I'm actually having a little bit of video problem. Can you see me as well as
we can see you?
Okay, great, thank you. And thank you very much for opening up the meeting, and thank you, Andrea, for that wonderful way that you set us into a headspace and a heart space to make sure that we actually can actually have this conversation, and we're just so grateful. Everyone, is so great to connect with you. It's been a very long time. What feels like years now has only been a matter of weeks. But so much has happened, and the way of life as we know it has dramatically changed. So I am actually just stepping out of a council meeting, which of course is happening virtually. So my time with you all is very limited, and I just want to make sure I make the very most use of every minute and second that I have. So I want to just get right into answering your questions and respecting your time. So your first question about how is the city supporting Regent Park residents, I can tell you that the city is just, there isn't really much of anything that the city is not doing. The lines are blurred about what a city is supposed to do and what a city is not supposed to do. We've oftentimes talked about cities, in terms of hard service around delivering probably just water infrastructure, as well as programs for childcare, making sure that the parks and recreation centers are opening, but everything has changed. And much of what the city is now doing is all about a COVID response. And so the COVID response is really built on a principle around the social responsibility, making sure that we can actually keep people safe. And that's when you started to hear about the declaration of the emergency. The city has a one place where all this information is available to you and your community, and it's actually translated now and accessible in about 150 different languages. So everything that I will not have a chance to cover just by way of the limitation of time, you can access by calling 311. They have every single COVID response that the city's working on right there. You can also go to toronto.ca /COVID-19. There's a lot of information there. And so I'm just going to try to summarize some of the highlights. The city, and I have it written down, otherwise I'll just sort of spin off into space. So I want to focus. The city is focused around employment and social services. For those who are needing some help in terms of navigating the government forms, there are individuals at TESS who are able to help you, including 3 physical locations that are open for in-person service. So if you can't get online, not a problem. The one that's closest to us in our community is actually at Metro Hall. So there are individuals who are able to help you navigate the employment side. How do you get onto some of those programs? And of course, making sure that you have enough to eat, and of course that the rent is being paid, or other type of essential bills. The city has also really been mindful of who is being affected by COVID-19, and we now recognize that there is a crisis around the long-term care facilities, and that the elderly and those who are immunocompromised are the ones who are most directly impacted. Layer on top of that the challenge of those who are racialized, who are living in very tight congregant settings, oftentimes crowded under house conditions, and you have a picture of who is really carrying the additional burden of COVID-19. So the city has actually put forward a number of programs specifically geared toward helping seniors. And some of that is on top of what we generally do, which is supporting the hundreds of agencies that support communities. And I know Emily Martin as well as Jen St. Louis are on the call. So later on, they're going to come on and speak to you about something more specific to that, including the Downtown East coordination and the cluster effect. And they can speak to the more granular details, which I think you will be happy to hear. And I must say that the staff have been working nonstop, including Lula Hassan, who's my own staff person, who's also on the call. This has been just, it's been a world-changing environment. The nights and days are merged together, and there is no longer a place, for me anyways, of rest, because it's the COVID-19 response all the time. So
Councillor Wong-Tam, sorry, I have the ugly job of keeping everyone on time. If you don't mind, just under a minute, address the question, the third one, please.
The third one. Yes, I could speak to that. So things that the city are doing with respect to confronting racism. So we know that racism is something that is not necessarily just abstract. As a racialized person, as an immigrant, this is something that I know personally as well. And especially right now, as a Chinese Canadian, there's an additional burden for myself, because I am that individual. But I know that for everyone who is a racialized person, if you're Black or Indigenous, COVID-19 has hit our communities very, very hard. So the city's been pushing for the collection of disaggregated data. As many of you already know, that without disaggregated data, which is that fine granular pickup of things such as race, social location, class, we will never be able to get to a response that's better than what we have today. So that is something that the city, and especially through the Public Health Board, is particularly pushing for. And the public health staff have already moved to adopt that at the city. And we have pushed to make sure that the province can respond equally. The city has created an interactive map right now where you can see where the COVID-19 responses and rates of transmissions are. So you can also track it by neighborhood. And a trend is becoming glaringly evident. And that trend, of course, is the fact that we know that it's in usually high-rise communities, usually communities that are hit by poverty, and usually communities that are confronted with racism. A lot of newcomer communities, early settlement communities, and at the same time, just to finish off on, I guess, the race piece, the city is being asked, and I actually am the one who asked the city, is to actually try to take advantage of the Toronto for All program, which is a campaign around public awareness. It is about education. It's about countering racism. Hear it, stop it, speak up, say something, do something. I've asked the city manager and Dr. Davila, our medical officer of health, to actually take that program that we have and then ramp it up right now during COVID-19, just because we are hearing reports of individuals who are experiencing all sorts of stigma. And sometimes the stigma is related to what they do. So healthcare workers being denied access to service when they go in for food, if they're walking in their scrubs. And we're also hearing about individuals who are reporting a sort of heightened senses of racism. And those factors have got to be integrated, and they are integrated in the health response. So the health response and racism is absolutely critical, because when we know who is being impacted, and we know that the impact is not equal, for those who said that COVID-19 is an equalizer, I think that's a half statement. Sure, everyone can get it, but there are groups of people that are more exposed to transmission, and that is something that has to be dealt with. And it's an active conversation at the city. There is action coming out of our city staff office, especially from our people, equity and human rights office, because they are gripped with the fact that people cannot be subjected to the violence or the stigma of racism and not have some type of government response. So that is, I could say more, but I'll leave it there. But if you, maybe just one final thing. I have been putting out an update almost daily until just recently we moved it. It was originally 5 days a week, and now it's 3 days a week. So we time it to the update that the city does, and we've been compiling and monitoring every city as well as every provincial announcement, every federal announcement. We put it all together in one package and we put it in your inbox at the end of the night. We have done close to 100 updates since the COVID-19 lockdown. It has been a monumental amount of work on top of delivering food to Dixon Hall or Rakai Center. We helped raise over $346,000 for Yonge Street Mission just recently, over 10 days to make sure that the largest food bank program in the downtown east is sustained for the next 11 weeks. It's been nonstop, but if you want to stay in touch with us, please do. And I know that I will not be able to stay with you for the balance of the meeting. I deeply regret that. But Lula Hassan will be here and she'll stay with you to the end of the meeting. And if there are any questions that I cannot answer, please let her know what your questions are, and we will make sure we give you a call or get back in touch with you as soon as we can. And thank you.
Thank you so much. This was really, really informative. And I do wish we had more time with you. I'm so sorry. I have the annoying and ugly job of cutting people off and making everyone keep it to the time. And because we have a lot of speakers and a lot of resident speakers afterwards, I do want to make sure we have lots of time for that. Thank you so much, Kristyn and Wong-Tam, Councillor Wong-Tam. And we will now move over to, you were just alluding to rapid housing and a couple of other programs such as the cluster table. So now I would like to invite Jen and Emily to speak just in the next 3 minutes. Again, I know this is not a lot of time, but there was a question about rapid housing and how we are supporting shelters. So Jen and Emily, if you would like to come on and speak to these in the next 3 minutes, please.
Sure. Hi there. My name is Jen St. Louis and I work at the City of Toronto. I will start and then pass it off to Emily. I'm not sure we can jointly present on Zoom. We're not that high tech. Oh, there you are. Hi, Emily. So as Councillor Wong-Tam mentioned, the city is very much focused on our COVID response right now. So in kind of pre-COVID regular times, I work in the Social Development, Finance and Administration Division with Emily. And I work primarily on Toronto community housing through the Tenants First project. But about 10 weeks ago, I was redeployed to work in shelter support and housing. And I am currently leading the Rapid Housing Initiative. And so in other parts of TCH and other communities, that has involved quickly moving people out of shelters into permanent housing through vacant units at Toronto Community Housing. So that program has been up and running for about 8 weeks now, and we've housed about 150 people into permanent housing with supports that they need for successful tenancies. In Regent Park, we're looking at a different initiative, and many of you are aware of it. So we are looking at developing an interim housing program in 4 buildings that have been vacated tenants have been relocated because of revitalization. So we are currently in the process of fixing those units up and bringing them up to a standard, a good standard for people to live in. And the city has not to date made a decision about what those units will be used for. I see there are some questions, so I can talk about the engagement process. So we did reach out to tenants as soon as work started being done in those buildings, directly to the tenants who live in those 4 buildings. I had the pleasure of speaking to many of you after that and answering your questions. We definitely are committed to further engagement, and we'll reach out again when we both know what's happening with the buildings, and definitely prior to any move-ins happening. So at this point, we're waiting when everything is changing so fast that when the units are prepared, we will kind of match that to what the current need is. It's really hard to say at this point what that need will be.
Okay, great. Thank you, Jen.
And there was another question. Sorry, I'll quickly get to that. There was a question about whether or not people moving in will be tested for COVID. And there is not an intention to test people. People will be screened. The site will definitely not be used as a recovery site. I think that was, so a lot of people I spoke to and residents I spoke to had concerns that it would be used as a recovery site for people who have tested positive, and that's not the case. People will be screened, but I don't believe that we will be testing. I don't know that we can test people as a precondition for moving in, particularly as you need, a symptom or two have been exposed to COVID in order to be tested under the provincial guidelines currently.
Great. Thank you. That was really helpful. Thank you so much. Emily, I think we're going to hear from you about the city cluster tables. If you could speak on that.
Absolutely. And I'll try to be brief because I know we're keeping to time. So the city cluster table was set up as a partnership between City of Toronto and United Way in response to COVID-19, and it supports the coordination of resources and nonprofit community organizations with a specific focus on vulnerable community members. So the way that it works in the downtown east, which is the area we have set up for, we have 2 separate calls that happen with agencies in the area. So one is focused on agencies serving people experiencing homelessness. And we talk to that group twice a week. And the other is focused on agencies supporting people who are housed, and we connect with them once a week. So many agencies which are based in or serve Regent Park are involved. Regent Park Community Health Center, Yonge Street Mission, CRC Fred Victor, and other agencies as well. TCHC is engaged, Sean specifically, in our housed agencies call. And it's a space for the agencies to connect, identify concerns, escalate them to the city so that they go to the Emergency Operations Center if needed, or go to a specific division and can be responded to. So the intention of it is not to replace, it's not replacing other city or community services. It's a kind of additional coordination level. So residents who are having issues that they feel need to be escalated to the city should continue reaching out to community organizations they have relationships with, or to TCHC to raise those pieces, or whatever process currently exists with the Regent Park SDP or Neighbourhood Association. So this response isn't meant to create something new in terms of how residents get in touch, but to make sure that things residents are raising are getting escalated. And this is just a very busy slide. I'm sorry, I cut up a PDF and put it onto a slide. It's not how I would ideally do a slide. But just to share a bit of information about what kind of issues we're responding to, some of the outcomes of the first 6 weeks. A lot of the work has been focused around donations. So agencies identifying that they need food, goods, a lot of hygiene kits, pieces like that, and connecting with the Toronto Office of Partnerships to make sure those donations go out to the agencies. So last thing I'll say is just this response is happening not only in the downtown Eastern Regent Park, it's happening across the city. So there's 13 different clusters which are connected city staff and United Way staff working together to identify these issues, talk to agencies, escalate pieces. And in addition to the neighborhood-based clusters, there's citywide agencies, Black Resilience Cluster, and an Indigenous serving group as well. So that's sort of the concept behind it. Happy to hear from anyone who is connected to an agency and wants to make sure an issue is getting escalated, but generally the process is that it should be going through agencies.
Okay,
thank
great.
you.
Thank you, Emily. I think that was a really good quick overview of how the city cluster tables work, and thank you to Jen as well as Councillor Wong-Tam for sharing how the city has been providing support to residents. And again, if you have any questions, use the Q&A box. If speakers, if you're able to respond to these questions by typing in your answers, that would be great. That way we will leave more time for live questions. Okay. Now we are moving on to MPP Suze Morrison and Emma as well. Suze and Emma, if you're able to join, oh, there you are.
Hi,
Perfect.
I'm here.
So we have the next 3 minutes with you to go over supports that are available for those who are accessing social assistance and what the impacts are of federal government supports on those who are receiving ODSP and OW.
Perfect. So I'll start right at the top with, I'm going to try and run through some stuff quickly because I also have a bunch of legislative updates from this week that I think are important for folks to know about that I want to cover off on as well. So for anyone on ODSP, there is an extra $100 a month benefit that you can apply for. It's $100 a month for singles and $200 a month for families. And if you're having issues getting a hold of your worker, I know in the office we've heard some issues with folks being able to get through to folks on the phone. I know there's been some technical issues, particularly with the workers in the 100 Wellesley office getting set up to work remotely. I know there's been issues with phone and email. So if you're having issues getting a hold of your worker, please call my office. We're happy to help connect you directly and have been able to do that for a number of folks to get this additional benefit sorted out. So I'll just give the office number really quick. It's 416-972-7683. And again, that's if you're on ODSP, you are entitled to that extra benefit if you're not already getting it. The other note that I would make about the impacts of CERB or the student equivalent of that, the CESB, if you're currently on ODSP or OW, it is treated like income in the calculations. So the first $200 of CERB or the CESB is exempt, and then the rest of the benefit is clawed back at 50%, the same that it would be for any other income that you're receiving. So those, I hope that answers the questions that folks have had specifically around ODSP and CERB. Those are the most common questions we're getting in the office right now. But like I said, if you have any additional questions or if you're having problems getting a hold of your worker, call the office. We're happy to get it sorted. So that said, this week has been a wild ride at the legislature. And so there's some important updates that I want to share with folks. They're not entirely Regent Park specific, but I think will have a big impact on the community in significant ways. The first is that yesterday, despite promising that the government would not be calling any legislative business right now that wasn't directly related to the state of emergency or COVID-19, without any warning, on Tuesday afternoon, the government tried to quietly call for debate a bill that they tabled right before the state of emergency started that would make sweeping changes to the Residential Tenancies Act, as well as a number of housing related acts. So we're very concerned about this, mainly because it will make it easier for landlords to evict tenants for non-payment of rent. And particularly in the time of COVID-19, when we know that folks, you know, if you're in a rental situation, maybe staring down, you know, thousands of dollars in backed rent right now as you're trying to get caught up. Now is not the time to be making it easier to evict tenants. We know that renters need support right now. So we're keeping a close watch on that. It still has to go to committee and back for third reading. But we are very, very unimpressed with the fact that the government tried to pull a fast one here and sneak this bill through under the cover of COVID-19 when they should be focused on helping people and bringing forward legislation that will ease the pressures in our community that we're facing as a result of COVID-19. The other bill that I think is significant that they have tabled what's called a time allocation motion. I know some of this is kind of technical, but what it means is they intend over the summer months to fast track a bill that will make that will reorganize legal aid clinics and Legal Aid Ontario. So we have a lot of concerns about that, and the committee hearings for that will be coming up quite quickly. So if there are folks in the call that are connected to the justice sector at all, and you're interested in learning a little bit more about what's going on at the House with those changes, again, please get in touch with my office. We're happy to help explain the committee process a little bit more. The last piece I would say about the things that went down in the House this week and over the last few months is well, specifically this week, would be the report that was recently issued from the Canadian Armed Forces on the absolute abysmal state of long-term care homes in this province. And I don't know if anyone's had a chance to read the CAF report that was passed on to the province as well as to the federal government, but it's heartbreaking the state that many of our seniors and elders are being treated in these homes, and it absolutely cannot stand. And considering that long-term care homes are now the epicenter of the COVID-19 outbreaks in our communities right now, and more than 1,500 of our seniors have died in long-term care homes since the start of this outbreak. We are now calling for a judicial inquiry into the handling of long-term care homes in Ontario, it's so upsetting.
Yeah. So sorry. Yeah. Sorry. I'm so sorry. I have to remind everyone. I don't want to have to do this ugly thing, but I thank you so much for your overview and the new updates. This feels like inside scoop, which is really amazing to hear. So thank you for sharing that, and we will have more time with you hopefully during the Q&A for more questions. So thank you so much.
Okay, sorry, can I just have 30 seconds to wrap up that point on the long-term care homes?
Yeah,
I did want to say that if folks in the community have family members that are in a long-term care facility that they are concerned about or are having negative experiences that are similar to what were outlined in the Canadian Armed Forces report, again, please get in touch with my office because these are the types of stories that we need to hear about if we're going to effectively hold this government accountable for the state of affairs in long-term care.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I don't know if I can speak that fast like you, but that's amazing. Thank you so much. We're going to move quickly to Toronto Community Housing, and I'm going to ask Sean to come up and tell us about the supports that are available to tenants, to TCH residents.
Thank you, Nayeon. So I'll try and go through quickly some of the supports that are available. With the market tenants, we do have rent deferral that's available, and that's also available for affordable residents, those paying affordable rate rents. And you can call our client care at 416-981-4600. 5500 for any of these items that I'm going to cover. And you can get in touch with us to arrange a rent deferral if you're market or affordable rent resident. For RGI tenants, of course, we will reduce folks' rents based on their income currently, as is the normal process, and they can be in touch with us for that. We are doing increased cleaning in all of our buildings. There is currently no repairs happening other than emergency repairs in order to minimize traffic in and out of residents' apartments. We wanted to make sure that that was covered. All of our offices do remain closed, but if you need to speak to your tenant service coordinator or to anyone in your office, you can call the 981-5500. And if you need to meet face-to-face, then a meeting can be scheduled for that. In terms of the community safety unit, it continues to operate. And if you have security concerns that are non-life threatening, you can call our security office at 416-921-2323. The final piece that I'll cover is in the whole portfolio across the City of Toronto. Toronto Community Housing has been calling vulnerable and senior residents to check in with any concerns around food security, or if they need access to pharmaceutical supplies, checking in to see if folks are isolated and doing referrals. In the Regent Park community, as a revitalization community, our team in the revitalization group has been working through calling all tenants in the neighborhood to check in again how people are doing with food security, pharmaceuticals, or any other areas they may need referrals to. And we're also doing this to collect contact information so that we can engage in new great ways like this. So it's really great to see how well this is working, and I'll leave it there. Thanks, Nayeon.
Great, thank you, Sean. All right, that was quick. That was great. If I could ask all the speakers to please keep your updates focused on Regent Park and also within 3 minutes, that would be great. Next, we have Fatima from Daniels.
Hi, everyone. You can see me okay?
Yes, we can hear you and see you okay.
Great. So yeah, I just want to address, we've had a few questions around commercial retailers in the neighborhood and safety, so I'll answer those types of questions. So I'm sure you will have noticed over the last few months that, some commercial retailers in the neighborhood have been closed for periods of time, and the province has had strict requirements in place to help stop the spread of COVID-19, and retailers have had to adapt to adhere to public health requirements. And as we're going through this gradual staged reopening, you'll see that, and you probably have already seen, that retailers are reopening every few days. Now, this time has been a difficult one for a lot of retailers in the neighborhood, of course, and like around the city and the country. And while there are some programs in place to support them, it's important to note that as the retailers begin to open, they're really counting on community support. And so the best way to do this is to support businesses in the neighborhood and do this by respecting their rules and guidelines around physical distancing and mask wearing as well, right, as things begin to reopen. Right. And then in terms of construction safety, Daniels has taken health and safety very seriously. And while COVID has created a new type of challenge for health and safety, our construction and health and safety teams have been really quick to address these. So first and foremost, physical distancing is being enforced at all Daniels workplaces at all times, and this includes non-essential visitors being, denied entry from accessing sites, and employers and employees and contractors entering sites having to answer sort of COVID-19 screening questions upon entering. And in fact, in order to even help facilitate physical distancing on construction sites even more, you might know that the province had revised those noise bylaws regarding construction start and stop times. And that was done specifically in an effort to allow workers to be able to work safely by staggering start times and limiting the number of people on site that way. And so, as part of our efforts to keep our trades, employees, and everyone safe we've adopted those new working hours until the emergency order is lifted by the province. And we know hearing construction noise in the mornings can be disruptive, but we're really grateful for your support in keeping our workers safe through this. We're looking forward to being back in the community, or I am anyway, to see you all in person soon, hopefully.
Great, thank you. Thanks, Fatima. It's great to see you. So we heard from a lot of speakers so far. We're halfway through the speakers. And I just wanted to pause and let you know, if you have questions, please use the Q&A box. We still have another 5 speakers to go before we get to the live questions. So keep using the Q&A box for now. And at this time, we wanted to quickly shift a little bit and do a little poll to understand who's with us tonight. So for those of you, so this is going to be really interesting, and bear with me. We really want to know who's with us tonight and make sure that we are reaching out to as many people as possible. So for those of you, here's how it's going to happen. For those of you who are on Zoom, you can use the raise hand button. You can see highlighted here. Oh, sorry, I made a mistake. For those of you who are on Zoom, there will be an online poll. You will see a poll window come up where you will be asked to identify if you're joining us as a TCH resident or non-TCH. That poll will start soon, while those who are on the line, sorry, I'm just gonna repeat that again. For those of you who are joining us online on Zoom, not your telephone, there will be a poll window coming up on you. You can identify whether you're TCH residents or not. And for those of you who are joining, I see a dozen of you joining on the phone. I'm going to ask you 2 questions. One is, if you're joining us as a TCH resident first, to ask you to raise your hand. So I'm going to do that now. In a couple of seconds, I'm going to ask you to identify, let us know if you're a market resident by raising your hand by pressing *9. So Sean, do we have the poll ready to go? I might not be seeing it because I'm the host.
Yes, did you want to do the Zoom poll first? We have that ready.
Yeah, so let's do the Zoom poll first. So again, those of you, you would see the window right now, and let us know if you're a market resident or a TCH resident and staff. And while we are receiving the poll, the responses online, I want to ask those of you who are joining us on your phone, and you are a market resident. So if you're a market resident, please press 9 on your phone. So those of you who are on the phone, you can press *9 to raise your hand if you're a market resident. Okay, we'll give it another few seconds. Okay, great. We're getting good responses here. Again, if you're a market resident, press 9 to raise your hand. Okay. Okay, great. So I'm going to ask Anisha to lower the hands for me. And for those of you who are joining on your phone, if you're a TCH resident, please press *9 to raise your hand if you're a TCH resident. Once again, if you are a TCH resident and joining us on the phone, please press *9. And we're getting some good responses here. Okay, perfect. So we've captured all of that. And Anisha, you can lower the hands for me.
And Nayeon, I noticed we still have some people. Oh, we're done with the results. So we got the results in for the poll too.
Yeah, I just ended it. So looks like half the folks joining us tonight are my neighbors, residents living in Regent Park. Half of you are from the market, the non-TCH, and half of you are from TCH, and the rest of us are staff who work here. Great.
And we also have another, Nayeon, we also have another 10 from the phone calls, and we have 15 in the translation lines that might not be getting through.
Okay, perfect. Great, thank you. Thank you so much for going through this. This wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, so this is great. All right, so we're going to go back to, oh, sorry. The poll is back on. I'm going to exit that. We're going to quickly shift to 5 more speakers we have tonight. Just because we want to make sure we're on time, I'm going to quickly ask Chris Moise from Toronto District School Board to join us and share your updates with us in the next 3 minutes, how the schools will open safely and what supports are provided to our students. Chris, are you here with us?
Yes.
Okay,
can you
great.
hear me? Great.
Yes, we can hear you.
Good evening. How's everybody? Hope all is well. I wrote down some notes because I only have 3 minutes. So as you know, our public schools has remained closed after the March break. Trustees, along with the executive team, continue to work hard to provide support to our students, families, and staff, and community members at large. So the first question was, how will schools reopen? So it is still early days. We are still very much in the middle of the pandemic, as you know. We take advice from Toronto Public Health, as well as from the Ministry of Education. That being said, we are keeping a close eye on other jurisdictions across the globe who have reopened their doors to students. We are looking at best practices in those countries. The staff lead at the TDSB is Associate Director Carly Jackson. As recently as yesterday at our monthly board meeting, we talked about social distancing on our buses. On a yellow bus, for example, that holds 72 students, we may only be able to put a maximum of 15 students on it safely. We're talking about the safety of the drivers who are older and who may be more vulnerable. We had a meeting with the mayor last week, and one of the areas that the city may be able to assist us is probably using TTC buses to transport kids. Luckily, unlike rural areas outside of Toronto, we are not 100% dependent on yellow buses. That being said, though, the TSB does share the buses with the Catholic School Board. Again, no decisions have been made, but when kids are finally back at school, we're limiting only 15 kids to classroom for social distancing. The other half of the class may be spread out to the gym, the libraries, empty classrooms, and they're following remotely from those areas. Another option we're looking at perhaps is having kids attend school alternate days, half staying home and the other half to school. This may be easy for secondary school students, but this model may not work for elementary kids whose parents may have to return to work. So before schools reopen, they will need to be cleaned. They will need to maintain a certain level of cleanliness throughout the day. This will be we may need additional funds as a result of that. That's another issue altogether. And the second question was, it's on the screen here, and what supports are being provided to students while they are at home? So I want to start off by saying that e-learning and remote learning are not the same thing. In fact, they are very different. So 90% of our staff have never taken part in any sort of remote learning in the past. We allow staff from the very beginning to use platforms they are comfortable with or familiar with, be it Google Classroom or other teaching tools. Some educators teach a couple of times a week for a couple hours. Others may provide an assignment. Some may just focus on the mental health and wellness of our students and have interactive play online. Every school, every teacher, every student is different. It also is important to remember educators are also going through the same emotions, concerns, and challenges you and I may be experiencing during this pandemic. Some cope better than others. Some teachers are single parents, may have a spouse at work all day and they are home with their kids. Some may have roommates or living with their parents and don't have the space to teach. So as a board, we recognize all that. So I encourage parents to keep an open but respectful dialogue with your child's classroom teacher or principal. The school administrators are here for you. Reach out to them. I know I'm running out of time, 1 more minute. So very early on, we took the initiative to reach out to Bell, Rogers, and Telus. We worked out a deal with them to provide iPads with 6 months internet on the iPads. We initially estimated 35,000 students would require devices. As of last week, 65,000 iPads with up to 6 months internet has been distributed to students across the system, and a lot of them are in the Regent Park area. This initiative was so successful that the province made an announcement a few weeks ago, and is now province-wide. But that being said, though, the funding for those iPads are actually coming out from our own TDSB budget. It's not additional funds from the province. And lastly, not every family wanted remote learning, and so we've actually provided 5,448 paper packages to students across the system with a month's worth of work, which also includes French immersion material. And we also collected some funds from across the system and issued $50 worth of gift cards to families who needed it, especially those who were in the breakfast and lunch programs across the system. And again, Regent Park received a lot of that funds. So, and also just in closing, I just want to say that some people in the Regent Park community who own businesses and had extra resources actually called me and donated some iPads and cash and the resources to the local schools. And I know that Jason at Mandela and a few other principals around the area have actually benefited from that. So I'm very, very thankful for that. And of course, in closing, go to tdsb.on.ca for any updates or information that you require. And my cell phone number, if you need any help from me, is 416-988-4478. Thank you.
Thank you.
I know that was over 3 minutes.
You did go over 3 minutes, but that's okay. Thank you so much. Everyone got his phone number, hopefully. If you could put it in the Q&A, that would also be great so that everyone can see it. I'm going to quickly go over to Amanda from Pathways. Amanda, if you could share with us what you are seeing in terms of our young people and how you're working with young people these days. If you could, again, keep your remarks to 3 minutes. It's hard, but we need to leave lots of time for our residents to speak at the end. So I ask everyone to please keep your remarks to 3 minutes.
Hi, everyone. I'm a student parent support worker and program facilitator with Pathways to Education in Regent Park. Great to be here with you guys. As you can imagine, connecting with youth virtually has been a bit of a challenge, completely dependent on relationships and their access to media. We've done a lot on our page, Pathways RP Instagram Lives. They connect to us through the DMs. We've had different polls trying to keep the pulse on what youth are wanting, what they're feeling. We've had some online workshops and just some fun things like house party and Netflix party, stuff like that. So that's ways we're staying connected aside from the obvious, the phone and the emails. But how are young people dealing with COVID was a question that was asked. And of course, I can only speak for myself and my connections with the youth as well as the youth workers at Pathways. But some of the patterns we've seen are youth are often really staying inside, but possibly not going out at all in some cases, even for walks. And so then struggling with the anxiety of that. I think there's a lot of express boredom, sometimes a sense of hopelessness. Some youth are, enjoying it. They're working on projects that they have to do. I think grade 12s are in a particularly difficult position, and those of us who work with grade 12s and pathways are really seeing more stress around the transition to university or college or plans beyond. Of course, some disappointment around opportunities that they've lost, struggle to see beyond what's going to happen next. Lots and lots of questions. Really opposite sleep schedules. So going to bed at 5 a.m., waking up at 5 is like a trend. So those are some of the things that we've seen just working with the youth in the ways that we can. In terms of supports and resources, there are so many, as we all know, and there's some other great resource people in here, Skylark, for example. And we've introduced students to some apps like mindfulness meditation apps, things like that, webinars for information. We have e-tutoring, which is all accessible through our Instagram page. And so I just wanted to say, if anyone is watching, they're a resident of Regent Park and they'd like to register a grade 7 or 8, a grade 8 for Pathways for the coming school year, that is going to be possible online at www.pathwaysregentpark.ca. And so, yeah, if you have a grade 8 child who's going into grade 9 next year, and also we're going to have a virtual Youth Enrichment Academy over the summer for grade 7s and 8s, which is joinYEA.ca. So those are two upcoming resources. Other than that, if you're a Pathways student or family, please stay connected to your student parent support worker. We're available for you through phone or email. Would love to help out. So thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much, Amanda. Thank you. Great to hear a little more about our youth. Quickly moving over to Toronto Police Service, we have Nigel, one of our neighborhood officers. Nigel, I think you're joining on from your phone. If you're able to say hi, and again, keep your remarks, updates to 3 minutes, that would be great.
Okay, thank you very much. Good evening to everybody. Hopefully everybody can hear me. I'm here with Officer Beth Luck. She's with me for the next 10 weeks. So first question was, how is the Toronto Police responding to COVID-19 in Regent Park? As Beth and I were talking about it, is pretty much business as usual almost, just obviously with some precautions. We've gone forward, with the education and everything in the parks and everything with in terms of social distancing and stuff. There was no enforcement to be had as per our superintendent. So we went the education route by talking with individuals that might not have been practicing it, and giving them the cautions rather than handing out these fines that you're seeing in other municipalities. So we took a different approach to it, and everybody pretty much complied with us, which was really good. We're still attending our radio calls as usual, all 911 situations. Like I said, it's all business as usual. However, once we're in the buildings and everything, you'll see us more with masks on and gloves on when we're attending calls. Question 2, how is Toronto Police ensuring safety in Regent Park, including around gun and gang violence and domestic violence? So unfortunately, as of, I guess, yesterday, last couple of days, gun violence is escalating in Toronto. We right now are fortunate, we're not seeing some of these things right now. We did have a shooting on Sherbourne a couple of days ago. However, within Regent Park, we do have individuals that have been arrested that are still in custody, that were involved in past gun violence. And so some of them are out on bail, and they have strict conditions on house arrest. So we follow up with that with bail compliance checks, which we do daily at various hours. We don't have set hours that we sit there and do the bail compliance checks. So we'll attend their addresses that they're supposed to be at. It could be in the morning, could be midday, it could be 2 o'clock in the morning. Going to knock on the door, ensure that they are abiding by their conditions and that they are there. So that's how we're following up with that. In terms of domestic violence, once again, if we're getting these radio calls in terms of domestic violence, has it gone up? I guess it would probably just slightly above average. And this is because now we're having everybody within the household in their confined areas for longer periods of time. So, you know, it's a trying time, and tensions do rise between couples, and, you know, financial strains as well, too. So the arguments are there. Once again, we go with enforcement on top of that when we do involve any type of domestic violence, and then we also spread the education side to it. And of course, at the end of the day, it's the victims that are the most important in that. Question 3, reallocation of resources at TPS due to COVID-19. So nobody has really been reallocated. Everybody's still on their various platoons and everything. There might be a shift in some of the working shifts in terms of hours, and what we're trying to do is with some of the hours that we're doing is reducing some of them. We still have the same amount of officers on there, but they're just kind of shuffling our schedule a bit so that our exposure would be not as much. So there has been some shifting, but not too much. The fourth question was in terms, same kind of thing, reallocation, and where are the neighborhood officers during COVID-19? Well, we're here. I'm talking to you right now. Schedules are still the same. We're still on. Before we were doing an 8 and 6. Now we're on a 7 and 7. And in terms of times, now my time is moved more towards the evening. So we don't have any programming happening in schools and stuff like that. So our day shifts are kind of shifted a bit, but we're still here during the midday into late night, into the morning. We're here, and then we're coverage, obviously, because of past issues that we had in terms of shootings that happened in the division. So we're covering off on those times, and those times have been generally between the hours of 10 and midnight. So we definitely are working through those times, and it's going to be like that through the entire summer. Back into September, guarantee our hours are going to be stretched to that.
Hey, great.
That is about it. Those were the 4 questions that were posed. And my phone number is to myself. Obviously, the station is 416-808-5100. And my cell number is 416-434-8417. And once again, Officer Beth Luck is here with me. And my partner, Raf Wah, who most people know in Regent Park. He's one of the homegrown guys from Regent Park. He's presently off right now, spending time with family. So he'll be back in next week.
Great. Thank you so much, Nigel, for joining us tonight and sharing your updates. Great. So I'm going to move over to Nicole and David from Skylark. It is a difficult time for a lot of us, our young people we heard just from Amanda, as well as those who are living alone too. So Nicole and David, if you could give us updates on your supports, and again, keep it to 3 minutes if possible, please.
Hi everyone, I'm going to try to keep it to 3 minutes as best I can, so we might be whipping through things a bit quickly. I just wanted to let everyone know that Skylark is an agency that supports children, youth, and families. So it is business as usual, and I'm using usual in the kind of quotations because we're doing the things that we normally do, but in a different way, either through phone or through Zoom or in the virtual platform. We have the ongoing and the drop-in counseling services. We're doing workshops, parenting groups to support parents at this time. You know, how do you parent through COVID? How are you taking care of yourself? We got the girls group. We got other groups that we're doing. Nicole and I are both individual and family therapists. You know, Skylark has 2 other locations, but we're based at MLC Launchpad, which is right in the area, and we're trying to support the community the best we can. So we'll put our contact information in the Q&A portion. One of us will figure it out, and please reach out to us. Our services are free. We're working with the community the best we can to support people at this time, at this challenging time. So we'll talk about a couple themes that have been coming up with us. It's quite a few, but we'll talk about two, and we'll talk about the ways that we can support people that way. So for me, I'll be touching on this lack of connection. I think this is something that we've been kind of talking about here too, that things are changing, things are different, and that there are things that were around that weren't around anymore. So interesting enough, there's this big lack of connection. So connection to self, connections to others, or community, the things that we love to do, the peers that we talk to, which in a normal sense would create consistency, sense of groundedness, and is really an antidote for isolation. So what we're seeing from youth, children, and families are this feeling of disconnection from, you know, their community, their school, things are going on. We're noticing with our clients and their families, increased anxiety, some reactivity, increased conflict, low mood. For some of our clients, increased suicidal ideation, self-harm, things like that, you know, due to the isolation and feeling disconnected from services, disconnected from things, your support network. Another thing that we're noticing with families as well is that parents have telling us that children or their child are on their screens more than usual, laptop, tablet, video games, et cetera, you know, and we talk about, you know, when there is a lack of connection, how children and people in general try to find connection the way they can. So maybe noticing these kinds of things, and that these are atypical and they're due to what's going on now. You know, also with youth, we're noticing that, you know, some youth are told us that they may not feel accepted or safe within their home due to, you know, the way they identify or their interests, et cetera, and how important it is to feel connected to a worker or support person outside the home. And we've been really great at trying to support that process through our services and being really flexible and adaptable around the way we do it, creating confidentiality and safety within those interactions. I always say, like, please reach out to us, and then we'll kind of figure out ways to connect. On the parent side, because I am a parent, I'm noticing things as well at home where I'm noticing some behaviors in my child, and I've noticed with also parents as well, like noticing behaviors I haven't seen before. So we talk about a really great way of validating feelings of what's going on. You know, it is a time of increased anxiety. We don't know what's coming up next, and information is rolling out, you know, slowly, and sometimes there's a lot of information, so it's really difficult to manage. So we talk about validation, acknowledging and accepting the child's feelings and experience, and really allowing that child to feel grounded by that, and also brings and also strengthens the parent-child relationship, also the caregiver-child relationship. So these are some of the things that we're noticing, and I think Nicole's going to start talking about the next piece, which is what we're noticing as well.
Yeah, so I'll try and make this quick because I know we're in our last minute. So grief and loss is something that we have been seeing with a lot of like youth, young people, and even adults. So I think we're going through a process of grief and loss as an individual, family, citywide, and globally, and just normalizing that these experiences around grief are normal. So it could be something around like not being able to celebrate birthdays, not being able to go to graduations, trips, or even just hang out with friends. And Dave touched upon like sometimes some of these groups that youth might be involved with, they might have had more connection to compared to their family. Parents may also have had more connection for support as well. And another piece that we've just been seeing is just some parents having a challenging time with their child being at home. So maybe causing a bit more tension on relationships that they have with their kids. So it's not just that they're a parent, but they're also taking on this homeschool teacher and kind of maintaining consistency. So especially with the younger kids, parents saying like, you know, they just sit beside their child in order for them to do the work, and how it can be really difficult for parents to feel like they're doing an adequate job in terms of working and also taking care of their child. So as Dave mentioned, we are available. You can have consults if you want to learn more about our services. We were running parent groups bi-weekly in partnership with Launchpad, and we'll provide our contact information. So if there are things that you want resources around, or if you have more questions and want that one-on-one support, or have groups that are existing meeting and you want it to come in, because that's something else that we've done, and we'll speak to certain pieces in more time. I think 3 minutes is a really hard time to kind of wrap up everything that's been happening in the last 3 months. You can definitely feel free to reach out.
Thank you. Thanks so much, both David and Nicole. I know 3 minutes is not enough time for anything really, and I really appreciate that you were able to sum it up quickly. I would like to invite Andrea again from Council Fire to give us an update on how you're responding to COVID in Regent Park in the next 3 minutes, please.
Yes, I got my timer on. So, Skoli Squego, and good afternoon again. Thank you for this opportunity. And I think what we wanted to do is to, in terms of Toronto Council Fire, we have been in existence since 1976. So we're celebrating 44 years of existence in this neighborhood, and currently is celebrating 23 years in the current building that we're in. And I think the biggest thing is to not just COVID, but it's a mindset of that's confronted with us, and it's that we've took the position to be very brilliant with the color of our building, and for people to be curious and to come by and to find out who we are. First of all, you asked about COVID in terms of what are some of the initiatives that we do. We just land running in terms of what we generally do, but we've just increased the numbers that we're doing and extending it. We were formed and created on the basis of providing food to those who are marginalized, homeless, and or at risk. And what has occurred is this continues right now as we speak. The community and clients and the position that we take are people of the four colors, and we don't discriminate against that. And I think that's always been really important, that it is in line with the opening address of giving thanks that we're all one people. We're all hungry, so environment does not choose particular people. So that's the first and foremost. We've tried to be extremely conscious and respectful of the social distancing. So if you will see through your, flip it through the actual slides, that our clientele have been really good about maintaining the 6 feet amongst them. And so we continue to provide the food, and the food is provided on the side. And what we're trying to do right now is to get the ability of getting some awning, or to make sure that there's a shelter temporarily, to ensure that that there is a shield that protects our clientele from the sun, but also from the heat, as well as any rain that comes about. So we continue just to intensify the numbers that we have, and in terms of the meals that we provide on a daily basis. It can go up to 300 sometimes, and further up. And again, the 2 that we provide again on the side during the weekend. We've heightened our Meals on Wheels and the delivery of food hampers. We do have a food bank that's provided on every other Thursday, but we share the truckloads of food that we have and disperse it across the country to quite a number of the homes and the Indigenous community and others that as far as out to Scarborough. And if you flip to the next slide again, how we function from an Indigenous perspective is that everything is connected. In terms of the small component it's the core, which would be me, that would be looking at any input that's coming from each of the programs and services, and expressing those needs and sharing what the community are sharing, and how do we best address that, including COVID. We've been in this neighborhood, as I say, 44 years and 23 in this building. And if you go to the next slide, what we want to demonstrate is that our partnerships with in the area. Missing and murdered Indigenous women is a major issue for all of us, not just our own individuals, but for the community as a whole. And our relationship that we have had in Regent Park with the young people are very expressive, and try to ensure that we're crossing the lines of ensuring that we're inclusive of everybody. So the young people that are there are performers. They've done the dance to identify some of those things. And on the side, you see these are our number of programs and services that we do have, and everything that we do, we interact and we interrelate with one another, and to ensure that it meets the needs of the community that we serve. Go to the next slide. This is a dance program we call First Fire Dance Crew. And again, there are a number of family who come together of many different places, and they've expressed their performance on an annual basis. And last year, they come up together with stop the violence, and we're talking about in this particular case our families and how do we assist and protect those people who reside in Regent Park. And then you go to the next slide. Is to identify for you that we have quite a number of, we have hundreds of partners, collaborators, sponsors, funders, but we wanted to put on top of that, it's now come into the thousands because people are so very giving, from the fact of having the community becoming involved to provide those masks and distributing them to as well. And these masks that you see in the top left-hand corner are made extremely exclusively. There is a slit in there that we provide the ability for the insertion of cedar, and cedar is a medicine for us, but also is very protective of the people who are wearing it. We've had tremendous amount of contributions from different areas, and again, as many of you who utilize our service know that you are a recipient of everything and anything that we get, and this is also redistributed to the community as a whole within the various Indigenous families that are located throughout the city. I'm going to leave it there because I'm within my 3 minutes. So there you go.
Thank you, Andrea, for sharing this. Lots of great initiatives going on at Council Fire, which is great. Okay, so thank you for all the speakers who have shared updates with us so far. We have a very special guest speaker here, Ines. When you're ready, please share your story with us.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ines. I'm a TCHC resident in the community. I've decided to speak on behalf of the COVID-19 because I went through it. It's the worst experience ever of my life. I started with migraine headaches, really bad migraine headaches. And so I just isolated myself. I went on quarantine. I had 3 days of migraine. And then after that, the next day my body was aching like a truck run over me. And then the next thing I was horrible. I was going from my bedroom to the living room. I couldn't take it no more. I wasn't coughing. The coughing came a week later, and the fever too a week later. I wasn't eating. I wasn't drinking for a week and a half. When I started getting fever, it was a really horrible experience because it got to a point where my kids had to call 911 because I literally thought I was dying of this experience. I felt with this experience, the room was spinning like a tornado, where I was having panic attacks, anxiety. I wanted to open the balcony door and throw myself out. That's how bad it was. When my kid called 911, that was the worst experience for me. And when they came and they told me that I had to go to the hospital, that's when it hit me more, because I thought I was literally going to die, because all you hear in the news was you're going to the hospital and you're not coming back. I started saying bye to my kids, and then the kids can't even go with you to the hospital. It's you by yourself, and then lock you up in a room where nobody is there. Your family is not there. It's only you yourself. But thank God I'm still here and alive. It's an experience that I don't wish on my worst enemy. It's horrible, horrible to go through this of COVID-19. I just say, I thank God I'm alive. I see life in a different way, and hopefully I'm here for many, many more. And that's how I could say, like, please take care of yourself. Be mindful of other people. Wear your mask. Be very cautious with everything you're surrounding and who you are around with. Your mask is very important. I know some people, they don't take that extra cautions, or they say virus, it's nothing, but it is something until it hits you. So please be very mindful of others, your families, grandparents, or whoever, anybody. It's very crucial. And that's it. Thank you.
Ines, thank you for sharing your story. It takes courage to share a story like that, and thank you for really making this experience that much more real. Thank you, and I'm so happy you're with us. Okay, so now we have come to the end of all the speakers. Okay, so we're going to spend just a few minutes. Okay, I'm already seeing some hands raised. We've got eager participants tonight. So again, this is how Q&A will work. And just because we are running out of time, we may not be able to take all of your questions. So guest speakers who are joining us, who are with us tonight, please type in the questions as much as you can that are in the Q&A box so we can have many of these questions answered. We're going to start with a live question first. For those of you who are on Zoom, please raise your hand and I will get to your question. For those of you who are on the phone, please press 9 to raise your question. We're going to alternate between text questions and live questions. Okay, so we're going to start with, just bear with me while I get this. Okay. Sorry. Okay, so we're going to start with a live question first. And I see a hand raised, Ishmael. Ishmael, if you're able to ask your question within less than 30 seconds, and a speaker, if you could identify who your question is, what your question is about and who you're asking, and the responder, if you could keep your response within a minute, that would be great. We have a lot of questions, so that would be really appreciated. Ishmael, over to you.
Hi, my name is Ishmael, and I'm a local champion as well as our Regent Park Neighborhood Association leadership. My question is to the city, especially Emily, who's from the city cluster table. My question is, we know resident leadership is important and resident input is important. Why have not resident or grassroots leadership been included in the neighborhood cluster tables? Resident voices in the design, development, and implementation for the recovery is essential. How will you address this gap going forward? We have to leverage the neighborhood association and the SDP table and other city planning tables as assets in connecting vulnerable residents and gaining lived experience in the plan. Can we expect you will do that going forward, having these resident voices in these cluster tables? Thank you.
Thank you, Ishmael. Emily? Emily, you might be on mute. We're not able to hear you. Emily, are you there? There was a bit of an audio issue with Emily's connection earlier. So Ishmael, we'll get back to you on this one. It's a very important question. And Emily, could you please check your mic and come back to us? That would be great.
And if
there, Emily, I think you were able.
Hi. Sorry. My computer is not very good, so I apologize. I heard the question and then I couldn't. That's
okay. Go ahead. Oh, sorry, you're on mute again.
You just muted me. Okay. So I was muted by the host. Okay, so thank you for your question. I know that early on, the Regent Park Neighborhood Association was in touch with me around resident involvement, and I said at that time we were focused on agencies, but I invited them to get in touch with any specific issues they were seeing that needed to be prioritized. So I think the first phase of this work has been around response and sort of urgent response and working with the agencies, but we do recognize the important voice that residents have and the unique perspective. And so as we move cluster coordination piece, we're looking at new ways to engage resident groups. And those of you who know John Smith from the city, he has been acting in Regent as a liaison for the Neighbourhood Association and the SDP so far. So he's overseeing the cluster coordination piece, and he's been made aware that Regent specifically has made this ask. So we're going to be looking at what the response will look like, but we're definitely, as we start talking recovery, wanting to hear from residents and engage them in a more deep way than we have thus far.
Great, thank you, Emily. So now we're going to go over to a written question here. The first question I see, so we have removed some of the questions that have been addressed so far. There is a question here. Sorry. How is the city regulating physical distancing and safety in businesses? Safety protocols and risk mitigation are not being followed by most of the business I've been to in Regent Park, and I do not feel safe. So someone from the city, Lula, would you like to take this on?
Yeah, I can answer, Nayeon. So I think I responded in the chat, but I can respond again. So with businesses, so Toronto Public Health does provide information to businesses. And I know as more businesses open, both non-essential and essential, this has been a concern that's been raised, I know, with our office. So aside from TPH providing that information, and the responsibility and onus really does fall on the individual businesses, there's also an opportunity to report non-compliance. I provided a link in the chat, but this can be found at toronto.ca/COVID-19. And if folks are having trouble connecting with 311, which I know has been an issue over the last couple of weeks, just because of the volume of calls and information, they can connect with us directly. We can follow up on particular businesses. Sorry, do I have time to just add one little point?
Sure, go
I
ahead.
know an area that has been raised quite often is the green spaces in Regent Park. So specifically the big park and athletic ground. So I know Nigel from Toronto Police Services mentioned that enforcement really has been a last resort. And I know the focus from bylaw officers and TPS has been education. I think one thing that has been helpful for the city is when folks proactively call 311, instead of having bylaw officers show up and then folks have left. If they know people are hanging out at a particular time, they can be more proactive in their response. So I just wanted to add that as well.
Great, thank you. I think we have time for one or two more questions. Gail, I see your hand raised here. Go ahead, Gail.
Mute myself. Sorry. And that was actually my question. And I needed to clarify that we've called 311. We've done all of the right things. And I'm speaking for the residents of my building. I polled them. I said, guys, I'm going to this meeting. Is there anything you want me to ask? So two things, and they're both about safety. One, right now that it's raining outside, there are 30 people on that court. I have videos. We all have videos of over 100 people on that field. That is a concern for us. Then the other thing here is the speeding on our streets, whether it's on Sumac, on Regent Boulevard, it's always speeding. We've already had one person killed at the corner there. And now we had another person do it last night. They didn't kill anyone, but they sped. We spoke to the police that was sitting there and the police just said, whatever. Basically, I don't care. So there is a concern, and that's the best I can do, but there is a concern, right? We've done all the right things. How much more can we call? I've called, I've taken pictures. There's a problem. That's it for me. There's more, but you know, let me not get hot.
Thanks, Gail. Who would like to take this on? Perhaps Nigel or Lula?
Can I just add one point? I think probably Nigel can respond to the speeding enforcement at TPS, but I know folks have called and the response has been slow. So I think I'll just take that piece back and connect with staff directly from our office. So that's my commitment on that piece.
Thank you.
Okay.
No problem.
Perfect. I think that answered a lot of the questions that were in the Q&A. For the time being, just because I think most of the written questions have been responded, I'm going to keep the rest of our Q&A time to live questions so we don't miss those. We have a phone number here, last digit 9047. Looks like your hand is up if you would like to ask your question, and let us know who you're directing your question to.
Yes, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thanks. I'm directing a question to Councillor Wong-Tam and to Toronto Community Housing. I'm in affordable rent, and there was a rent increase that was announced, I was given a notice of a rent increase. The province of Ontario had a 2.2% maximum rent increase, and the rent increase was 2.2%. With COVID-19, there's been rent deferral, but the rent increase is going through. Is there any consideration to not increase the rents because of the economic situation that we're all facing right now?
Okay, great, thank you. That question, Sean, or if Barry is with us, would you like to take that on?
Hello? Barry, are you on the line?
I think Barry had to step away.
Okay, Sean, would you like to take that on quickly?
So in terms of the affordable rent increase, I would have to go back. For the work that I do, I'm focused in revitalization engagement, and this is a question for our operations team. But if you like, I'll put out my phone number for the caller who just called, and we'll get an answer for that question. So it's 647-467-5213, 647-467-5213. And if you can join, just give me a call after this and we'll get an answer. Unfortunately, I don't know if there's any possibility of us canceling that rent increase for affordable tenants. But as I mentioned earlier, we do have the deferral program that's available, which can be done through the client care. So if you wish to call me after, we'll get an answer for you individually. Sorry, we can't have one right now.
Okay, great. So Sean, I think you could also take down the number there as well, and you could also give a call to the caller. Okay, was there any question from the translation lines? No? Okay, so I'm really sorry. I wish there was more time to go through the written questions here. I think most of them have been answered, and the ones that have not been answered, if you could please email us, we will make sure to get back to you. And I don't see any more hands raised, so we will move over to the next. Oh, sorry, there's one last question. Gail, go ahead.
Right, so I wanted to also clarify about the businesses. You know, you think about, so I go into a Tim Hortons, I order a coffee, that person is using a glove, they've touched all kinds of things with the glove, and then they take that glove in their hand and they put their hand over the lid and cover the lid, right? So anything that's on that glove now goes on the lid, and then my mouth goes on the lid as I drink that coffee. So those are the kinds of things that I'm talking about in terms of regulation that I'm seeing that concern me.
Gail, was that a question directed directed to someone specifically?
Well, that's to anybody, that's to anyone in the city, because we talked about regulation of businesses. You know, I'm in the food business, so maybe I'm going to see them a little bit more, but I'm concerned that I'm not safe if I go to purchase something for these businesses that say, hey, come and buy from us. But then you're
Okay.
not being safe as you serve me. That's my point.
Right. So, Lula, would you like to take that on? And if we're not able to respond, we should make the direct connection. You should, if you could get in touch with Gail.
This is Emma from MPP Suze Morrison's office. I can sort of briefly speak to this. And this is something that actually MPP Morrison and her colleagues have been also concerned about, because in the reopening process, the provincial government has issued guidelines for businesses, but they're not enforced. And so that's something that MPP Morrison and her colleagues are concerned about, and they've been calling for much more specific regulation with enforcement to make sure that folks are safe when they're accessing businesses as they reopen. So that's something that we're aware of and working on for sure.
Okay, great. Thank you, Gail. Thank you for asking that question. That's really important and top of mind for a lot of us. Okay, so with that, I know that there are many questions coming through the Q&A box and the translation lines. We're going to actually collect all of these questions and post them on Regent Park Focus. As well, we'll be sending out mailed packages to TCH residents with these questions and answers. And with that, I'm going to actually take us over to our resident speakers, resident leaders who have been taking on really amazing initiatives. So I'm going to ask Marlene. Marlene, if you could speak about the social development plan in the next 2 minutes, that would be great. And for those of you who are with us, we may be running 5 minutes late, but please stay with us and we'll go through the resident initiatives and initiatives that you can get involved in.
Hi there. Do I have 3 minutes?
You have 2 minutes.
Oh my God. Okay, this is going to be interesting. Hi, I'm Marlene de Geneva, and along with Lloyd Pike and Paulus Gebresus, at the Social Development Plan we're with the Social Development Plan Stakeholders Table. The Stakeholders Table was created in part to guide the revitalization progress, to work together with people who live and work in Regent Park to achieve our goal of an inclusive and cohesive community and create a place that all of us can call home. The work of the STP is divided into 4 focus areas: the Safety Working Group, the Employment and Economic Development Working Group, the Communications Working Group, and the Community Building Working Group. So now I'd like to tell you a little bit about what each of the working groups are doing. The Safety Network, the Safety Working Group, has been working on 2 initiatives. The Youth Empowering Youth examines current programming and identifies protocols and responses which supports youth in our community. 4 youth researchers have been recruited to evaluate how youth interact with current interventions and what support youth needs outside of the traditional programming. The parent conference workshops aim to provide supports and build capacity of parents through workshops, which will resume following this town hall. More information and invites will be sent out soon. Also, the Safety Network is the host of this virtual town hall. Second, the Employment and Economic Development Working Group was awarded a SIF grant to help to develop a strategy focused on understanding the needs of each community member around employment and economic development. The hiring process has begun to onboard an Employment and Economic Development Community Building Officer. They've received 10 business proposals from grassroots and community members for city funding, and also exploring the option for capacity building online during the COVID-19 crisis. The Communications Working Group was awarded a SIF grant to advance 3 main projects: programming for Regent Park Focus, supporting the Regent Park newsletter, and building an online community website, hub website. They're also exploring a process for collaborative online community hub, web app, and service navigation tool. The community building working group has prepared proposals for improving community access to spaces in the neighborhood for community celebrations and support for neighborhood groups. It is supporting the creation of building by building and block by block pods for mutual support, which Maseeda will be talking about later. If you want to know more, if you want to get involved in this exciting work, join your RPNA. This is your Regent Park Neighborhood Association. Your voice makes your community stronger. We all need you. Thank you very much.
Amazing. Thank you, Marlene.
Take care.
Next
Bye-bye.
up, I think you did mention the pods. Maseeda, if you could speak a little bit about the pods. And then after Maseeda will be Ibrahim on the games.
Hello, folks.
Hi, Maseeda, go ahead.
Okay, so Nayeon and I started our first Regent Park pod about a month ago. So we started with the Cole and Oak Street townhouses, which consist of both TCHC and non-TCHC residents. So this idea for pods was inspired by the Parkdale pods. And our pods in Regent Park is supported by the SDP Community Building Working Group as well as TCHC. So how we started our pod is we had Nayeon reach out to our neighbors on Cole Street. I reached out to our neighbors on Oak Street, and together we created a WhatsApp group where folks connected with each other or folks who are interested. So the pod is not only for folks to connect with each other, but also for neighbors to get support. So neighbors can receive and offer mutual support to each other. And hopefully it's a way to ensure that isolated and vulnerable community members have a support network. So the mutual aid can look like giving a meal to your neighbor, picking up someone's groceries, having someone pick up your prescriptions, or simply just checking in with each other. It's just like a kind, organic way of taking care of each other. Obviously, this is not the only way that we can do this. There are many other mutual aid happening in Regent Park, and pods are just one of the ways. Since the Oak and Cole pods have started, there are others that are on their way who have started. 21 Tubman and 110 River. If folks are interested, and we highly encourage more residents to lead these similar pods in their neighborhood and their blocks. If you are interested in hearing more about the pods, want support in creating a pod, we are more than happy to support coordinating or planning and creating a brand new pod for you. Just contact the SDP email and we'll be more than happy to help with that process. Thank you.
Thanks, Maseeda. Thank you. Ibrahim?
Hi, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us. I just wanted to say that we've been having COVID-19 has affected all of us. And this is the time for the community to come together and celebrate. And one of the ways that you're going to celebrate is for us to have these neighborhood games. So what the neighborhood games are is 3 months of games. One of the games is Ladu King. Another one is going to be FIFA Soccer on the PlayStation. And the last one is going to be a fun one where it's going to be Modern Warfare for all the systems. So to register for these games, I would ask everybody to go to the neighborhood website called Regent Park Social and register there. So far, we have 12 residents who are ready to go, and we are waiting for the rest of the residents to come in and register so we can have these tournaments. We also have prizes for people who win the games, and these prizes can help with shopping. It can help with whatever needs you have. It's $100. It goes to the winner. So this will be also live streamed on the neighborhood website, and it will be also on YouTube. So come join your neighborhood in these neighborhood games. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ibrahim. You can't say no to that. Soraya, on, can you tell us a little bit about the Muslim Welfare Center and the food initiative that you've been doing in under a minute, please?
Oh, wow, really, a minute? Why is that? Thank you for hosting this, and this is a lot of people, 79 people. Yes, because of COVID-19, we start about meal delivery for the senior buildings with Muslim Welfare Canada. They've been doing it for the last 7 years. The new initiative is One Stay Senior Building. It was so great to see also Sean joined. He comes every Sunday and delivering a meal also with us on the senior building. That is amazing to see Sean as well outside of TCHC. And I want to see all of you guys to come and help out as well. And we have been delivering also free masks to the senior buildings. We've been delivering a meal throughout Ramadan, iftar. Families been isolated and there is no gathering because of COVID-19, and Ramadan iftar was delivered to the families, about 250 families in Regent Park who identify who are needing iftar meals delivered to them. And we have also delivered Ramadan baskets and a box of perishable food for the family of Regent Park, over about 6,000 words of gift cards and also Ramadan basket. And I was so pleased to be a part of it and to help out. That's one of the joyful part of COVID-19 is helping out the people who are needing any kind of support that we could do. And I think it's under a minute, Nayeon. Thank you.
I was on mute. Sorry. Thank you, Soraya. Thank you. Ishmael on Community Benefits Coalition. Again, please, if you could limit it to a minute, please.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Ishmael.
Yeah, thank you, Nayeon. Hi, everybody. Ishmael Afrah here. I am a long-time resident of Regent Park. I've just moved out of the neighborhood across the board to Sherborne. However, I've been raised in Regent Park. All my family members, nieces, everybody lives in Regent Park. And my background is in studying philosophy. And when the neighborhood association was recruiting, they wanted residents involved. And through the neighborhood association, as many of you know, we're going through the revitalization. And some of the most important things about revitalization is $1 billion investment is going through our neighborhood. And one of the most remarkable things about this $1 billion is that some of that money is used in what's called community benefits. And communities are able to use some of those benefits when it comes to employment, when it comes to building state-of-the-art facilities. There are many types of community benefits. And some of the remarkable stuff we're doing in the neighborhood of Regent Park right now is in phases 4 and 5, developers are bidding to build that phase. And that means lots of money will be used to build the physical infrastructure, but also lots of money will also be needed to build the social development of this neighborhood. So for instance, this table, this town hall is being organized by the SDP safety table. And there are other tables in this neighborhood as well, like employment, community building, and communication. And in order to build a more vibrant community, you need investment in social things. And part of the neighborhood association for the past year is we've been trying to negotiate with Toronto Community Housing more resident voices in this process. If many of you know, an RFP is a very complicated document, and we wanted to be part of that conversation. We wanted some of the decisions to be part of it as well. And we formed a coalition in the neighborhood. We organized ourselves. We've had, as many of you expect, lots of meetings in order to get our strategies right. And we've made a remarkable progress. Because of our efforts, the community had an element of scoring in the RFP process, we would call in the selection of the developer. And also through our negotiations with Toronto Community Housing, we've secured that whichever developer is selected, that they will spend 1 year with us in terms of planning how to make use of those funds. That is historical.
And that's because, sorry, just because of time, how do people get involved? How could they reach out to you?
It's very easy. What do you call join by using the neighborhood website, the Regent Park Neighborhood Association, and the website is rpna.info@gmail.com. And I want to stress one last point, which is all of this is not possible without resident leadership, and it's only and we only make impact if you are involved. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. I really feel bad for cutting people off, but here we are almost at the end of this. We've heard from all the resident speakers, amazing. I wanted to also let you know, actually right now at 7 o'clock, Regent Park Film Festival is screening this Farewell Region. It's a documentary directed by Christine Brown, who is from Regent Park, and there will be a panel discussion with 2 more local youth from Regent Park as well. So as we wrap things up, don't go just yet. We have another fun thing to do. Don't leave just yet, but this would be on their website, and it'll be a really amazing, a real look at how the Revite impacted a lot of the lives, a lot of residents here in Regent. So just to wrap things up, here is a few things. Please get involved with us. And if you would like to ask, if your question wasn't addressed, I'm so sorry. Send us an email at sdp.regentpark@gmail.com. After this town hall, there will be a survey coming out to you. Please let us know if this was a useful use of your time, if you found the information useful, or any other feedback that you might like to share. The slide deck will be mailed with the question and answer to TCH residents as well. It'll be available in the condo buildings, and this audio recording will be available on regentparkfocus.com or regentparkmeeting.com, which is where you would have clicked to join our town hall. We have just one last minute left to go, and I just wanted to do one more thing. I wanted to take this as an opportunity, not me, but our team, our group really wanted to take this as an opportunity to say hi. So because virtual is the only way for us to get together, and there is not a lot of opportunities for us to see each other, please join us if you wish to say hi. Once we add you to this, your camera will come up automatically. So I want you to be ready. So please raise your hands if you would like to say hi. Those of you on the line, I'm so sorry, but you will be able to see all of us here. So give us just a minute as we are doing this. This might take just a few seconds. And as we are adding you to be panelists, you can turn on your camera and wave at each other and say hi.
Nayeon, do you want to stop the screen sharing for a moment?
Oh, sorry, yes. So you can take off your microphone, turn on your camera and say hi.
How can I take that off? Stop. Okay.
Log one.
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. Hi, everyone. Hi, guys. Everyone's on mute. Please take off the mute and you can say hi.
Finally, we can speak, huh?
I know, I'm gonna have a bad rep.
Hi, everybody. Great to see
Hi.
you. Wow.
Hey.
This is a nice touch. Yeah.
My video can't come on because it says you can't start your video because your host has stopped it. So host, unstop my video.
Oh,
Same
sorry.
thing here. I can't do it either.
Okay, let me see.
They're
I'll
down
get
in the
to you.
bottom. Oh. Hi, Saraya.
Hey, how are you?
Good. I'm,
Long time.
COVID times. It's not that easy, but yeah. Weird times is what I call it. Strange times. Yeah.
Andrea, you're back with us.
I am. You unstop me. Thank you.
Yeah, me too. I can't go on. I've been stopped from putting my video on.
Oh no, I don't know why.
no.
Okay, there. I'm doing it as quickly, as fast as I can.
Hi, Marlene. She's muted. Okay.
There. Ines, would you like me to unmute you? Ines, thank you so much for sharing your story.
I've been unmuted, but I have no picture.
Oh, Ines, we can't hear you. 1 second. Try that again. Unmute.
Hello.
Still can't hear you.
Marlene, you did an amazing job.
Oh, thank you. I can't, I don't have a picture.
But I
You
see
need
you.
a picture.
It just
Oh,
says.
Mary.
It's background,
Hey,
Mary.
Alice. Hey, Mary, how are you?
I'm great.
Oh, I want to.
So happy to see
How
you.
are you?
I'm amazing. Great.
It's so great to see everyone. Can anybody tell me how to just get from this picture? Just zoom. It just says zoom.
And we can see
Hey, look at you.
Marlene, I think that you might be in the web browser. If you scroll over, use three fingers on your mouse.
Hang on, I can see you. Oh, there I am.
So you're on speak view.
I'm back.
Up at the top of your screen on the right-hand side, there's a speaker view button. If you click that, it'll give you like a grid.
But can't you see me now?
I can see everybody.
Yeah, we see you.
Do we know how
Hi,
many
everybody.
participants were in the town hall tonight?
Oh no, there's
How many?
Almost 100.
Oh, no kidding.
Woo!
No kidding.
Can we do a dance? Dini, lead us in a dance.
Wow, that's better than I thought.
We had 100. Dini.
Come on. How about my
That's
sister?
okay. That's okay.
Leon, you did a fabulous job.
Yes, good job.
Oh yes,
Thank you.
wonderful, beautiful.
I feel
Safety
really bad. I
Network
feel
did
like
amazing job. Congrats, Safety Network Working Group.
I did not know those many people can talk at the same time. 36 of them. Wow.
Ines is having trouble with her microphone.
Do you hear me?
Oh, we can hear you now.
Hey, Ines, there
Okay.
she is.
Hey.
Hi,
No, I
Kim.
was just saying that I'm happy that I could speak regarding about my experience, because there's still a lot of stigma, and you guys are, I'm sure, aware of when, as a resident, when you, even with this of having COVID, we don't speak about it, or even with a lot of the stuff, because of that fear or being embarrassed or ashamed. So that's why for me, I don't mind speaking, because I want this for people to feel free and express themselves, of not to hold it in, because it is hard. I mean, there is times where I do hold myself some stuff, and it is hard when you don't have somebody who you could talk to.
Yep. Yep.
So that's why I decided that I need to speak this, because at the same time, like I said before, our residents are not, some of us are not taking it serious, how serious this virus is.
Thank
So
you
I
for
think we should all
sharing,
celebrate.
Ines.
We're coming to 9 o'clock safety walk with Leonard.
Chris, who's beside you?
That's my wife, Mimi.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
Hey.
Heard so much about you.
Oh, and you likewise, Marlene.
How you both doing?
Doing well, thank you.
Great. Good, good. Good
It's
to meet
good.
you at last.
It's good to put a face onto Chris' partner.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, this was a good idea.
Great idea.
If everyone would agree, there was a suggestion from one of the attendees to take a screenshot of us waving. If everyone's okay.
Yeah. How do you do that and get us all in?
So maybe Sean, would you be able to do that? I mean, we're not on one page; we're on 2 pages. So let's see. Just freeze there for a second. Freeze.
I can do it, Nayeon, if you need me to.
Yeah, Nayeon, if you change it, then you'll get, if you change your.
Hold on, give me a second. I'm gonna comb my hair.
Are you doing it?
That's the problem. Hair is the problem. I'm serious.
John, do we get them? And Denise?
I can do it. On the count of 3, everybody wave. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then one more time because I need to do the second page. On the count of 3, 1, 2, 3. Right.
Okay.
Sam, good mustache.
Thank you. I started with the beard, and then I think everyone else transitioned into a mustache.
I love that mustache. I wish I had one of them.
We should have had before and after pictures of people's hair before and people's hair after, you know? I don't remember.
I always look like this.
So Leonard, can you advertise your walk? Since it's
Are you
safety forum.
familiar with the Partridge Family? With all the pictures around?
The Brady Bunch.
Oh, it's a Brady Bunch. Okay, the Brady Bunch. So this is where.
So who's gonna
Sorry,
show
I
up
wanted
into the
to.
games?
I know, Ibrahim, I'll give you time to, like, unlimited time to talk about that, but
I want to hear about those games. Absolutely.
for those of you who still wish, if you want to be part of this and want to say hi, you can still raise your hand or raise your hand. Just click on the raise hand button.
Oh, hang on. Where is that?
So Marlene, you're good. You're already on this. So you're good.
Okay. Thank you.
Hand down, Leonard.
Marlene?
Yeah.
How is the mask?
Good.
Okay.
Very good. Thank you very much. I haven't paid you yet. I have a good time.
Okay, I'm glad it fits you.
Yes, they're fine. They're good.
Ibrahim, go.
Yes, we have 12 residents. I need more people to show up.
Well, we have to try them and then pass the word.
You have to tell us what the games are.
Yes, we have Ladoo King on the phone. All you gotta do is just download it from the App Store or from the Android store, and boom, you're in. You just have to go to the website Regent Park Social and register, and you get to play. Winner gets $100. That's a lot of it's like a whole day of work. I don't want to just give it to 12 people who just showed up.
Ibrahim, connect with Amanda. Ibrahim?
Yes.
Connect with Amanda from
Pathways. Kelly. I didn't see you there.
And
Hi.
she'll make sure the kids all get the information.
Okay, I'll talk to Pathways. Leonard, here he is. I haven't seen.
Kelly's on mute.
Leonard.
Kelly, take your thing off mute.
Have a question for
Kelly.
me, Marlene?
Yeah. Hi, I didn't see you there.
Leonard, I'm coming for a walk tonight.
Finally.
Marlene, did you change your glasses during the presentation to now? It looks like you have a different pair on.
I do. I have different
Very observant.
different things.
I'm gonna go zoom into Farewell to Regent so I can hear what the young people have to say.
Yeah, me too. Let's all go and support the film festival.
Okay.
Bye, guys. It's good to see everyone.
Bye, everyone. Guys, thank you so much.
Hi, good job.
Bye, thank you.
Wow, this is all that's left?
That's always the way that it goes.
Yeah. See you, Denise.
Nice to see you, Sean.
Good to see you too.
Nayeon, great work. Sean, great work. This was great tonight.
Sean,
Sean
Yeah,
Major.
are you coming for a walk tonight?
I am. Yes. See you for the walk. Are you coming, Sean Major, for the walk?
What is that?
Is Sean Major coming?
No, he's coming on Sunday for the meal.
I mean the walk tonight. He can walk with us tonight.
Let's include him tonight. You're not going home, Sean.
Just gonna sleep here.
Sean, I've got to jump off to farewell to be with those guys too. So is it okay? Are you good without me?
Yeah,
Do you need
I
anything?
was just saving all the questions, so we're good.
Okay, perfect. So I can log off?
You can log off, no worries.
Okay, great. Thank you. See you guys. See you soon.
Yeah. No.
Okay, I'm going to stop the meeting just so everyone knows.
Yeah. Thanks, Sean.
Thanks.